So a warm welcome to another edition of Lightbulb Moments. Have you heard of Boomerasking? It's a fun, or maybe not so fun, concept about communication. We all know asking questions is good, generally good. I just had a session earlier this week where we talked about stupid questions. And yes, there are questions that are not good per se, and you can go at that session and find out what they are. But today we're looking at another set of questions that are not helpful. And boomerasking is really about questions that come back. And they are self-serving. When it happens in a conversation where you suddenly realize that the other person only asks you a question so that they can talk about themselves. Or maybe that's a bit harder to admit. Maybe you've caught yourself doing this. It's damaging mostly because we do this under the cover. We do this without really declaring about it. And here's how boomerasking typically works. So someone asks you a question, number one, often about something positive. They wait for your response, and you say something, and then they sort of ask you that they expect you to ask them the same question in return, or at least ask you, how about you? And that's their actual goal, creating an opening so that they can share their own story. For example, if this colleague comes to you and asks you, hey, did you do anything exciting over the weekend? And when you answer and you say, yeah, nothing much. How about you? Then they tell you about their amazing marathon and their amazing trip, which is what they wanted to do in the first place. Is this always manipulative? Not necessarily. It's quite human to want to share some great experience, but it becomes bad when it shows that we actually were not really interested in the other party. And when it becomes a pattern, number two. When it shows, number one, that it's not an interest, a genuine interest, and that it becomes a pattern. Here are some more examples. For example, an obvious self-promoter in your organization. Hey, did you do anything exciting over the weekend again? And you say, just relaxed at home. And they say, yep, I just ran a marathon. Can you believe it? And I ran my personal best. It was incredible. And they hope for flatter. Or a strategic networker, for example. Example two. Hey, what do you think about the current market challenges? Well, they have something in mind. And after a brief acknowledgement of what you say, they launch into, well, I've just published an article about this exact topic that's getting a lot of attention. Well, that's really a promoting way. And yes, we should be asked. It's never great to self-promote yourself unless you're being asked, but you're engineering that ask in such a way that it feels bad. It could also be just a pretext to highlight expertise. Most awkward could be, hey, how are your kids doing? And after a brief update, the other person really spends 5 minutes showing you photos of their kids' achievements. What was clearly what they wanted to share all along. And in each of those cases, the initial question wasn't really asked to get it wasn't an example of a genuine curiosity, but more of a social maneuver to create an opening for self-promotion. And it's harmful because of the intention that was not explicit. If we go right away to talk to somebody and share, hey, I'd love to share some exciting thing I've done over the weekend. At least it's honest. At least it's honest, and it's not coming with a pretext of showing that you fake listen first. So we can do this better. Yeah. So when used thoughtfully, these kind of questions can actually enhance communication. And for example, in meetings, when you ask, hey, we need some ideas for improving customer satisfaction. Sarah, what are your thoughts? And Sarah might respond, so I have a few ideas, but I'm curious, what have others actually observed in these interactions? And Sarah's response is thoughtful. It invites broader participation, diverse perspectives. It hopefully is also driven by real curiosity. And it falls then into an exchange that is really promoting self-reflection and learning. Or, for example, in coaching, when somebody asks, how do you think how you handle that difficult client conversation? And the other party says, I'm not sure. What would you have done differently? And the first person then shares back, okay, thanks for asking back. But before I share my own thoughts, I'm really curious to know what you think. And that proves in that moment that you're actually interested. That first question wasn't just a pretext for sharing. So how can we be more self-aware of boomeranging tendencies? We've got to pay attention to our own motivation when asking a question. Is it just something for us to lead into sharing further down? Is there an underlying excitement of sharing that I come into with? Then it may just be better to be open and honest about it. But even then, we can bring this in, but with a genuine point of curiosity. And frankly, I've had this many times that I've come with an open sharing moment. I bring in curiosity, and sometimes people don't ask you back. It's just reality of human interaction, isn't it? And I think right now, back to a conversation a few years ago, it really stuck with me. I came into a conversation with this person. We had an hour. And I came and wanted to share something too. And I asked this person about how they were doing, what's new in their life. And they were just talking. They were talking and talking and talking for an hour. And the hour was up. And they never asked me a single question. I still remember that. It was painful and it left me baffled. Yes, I could have interjected, but in the end, I was a bit curious to know how long it would take for this person to ask me a question back, but it never came. It never came. So these are other extremes that could happen. So in the end, if we have these boomerasking tendencies and we know them, that's step one, that's helpful. We can just be more direct about it and say, for example, hey, do you have a few minutes? I'd love to really tell you about something exciting about my weekend if you're interested. That's honest. And that's okay. I think people then, especially when you are friendly colleagues or almost friends as colleagues, they are open. They are happy to hear that. And you share a story, ask for permission too. Would it be okay if I shared my experience with this? That's also more direct and more open and honest and more respectful of other people's time and attention. Okay, so here's a challenge to notice if you're asking questions that are leading people. And this doesn't happen as much in coaching because we are already in a frame of mind of curiosity, but sometimes we are not. Especially outside of a coaching context, we might just go into a conversation really leading, and then we end up actually being found to ask a boomerasking question. And it's quite a disappointing thing, and it has quite an impact on trust and safety. Anyway, thought I'd share this with you today. It was something that we've discussed recently in a course that I've been running, because a participant shared about how people sometimes ask questions not really wanting to know an answer. And here I remembered the actual term for that tendency. Anyway, wish you all a great Thursday afternoon here in Singapore and in the world ahead. All the best. Say hello. Bye-bye.